Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Shankly podcast. Tonight, I'm joined by our two regulars, Dave and Dan. We all right, fellas?
All good.
All good.
Good, lads. And as ever, again, we've got a lot to discuss this week. Obviously, we'll start by talking about the titanic battle yesterday with Man City, which saw the game end in a 2-2 draw. And then we'll move on. We've got talk about Benfica in the week, and then again, it comes around fast. Man City in the cup semi-final next Saturday. But I'll start with you, Dan. 2-2 at Man City, mate. I think any other time be considered as a very good result. Would you say you're a bit disappointed with that, or are you happy enough with the 2-2?
I'm happy enough with the result. I'm disappointed with the performance, if I'm being brutally honest. I know a lot of people will say, and I've had many conversations since about how good City were and City didn't allow us to play and so on and so forth. And listen, they're an outstanding football team, aren't they? But so are we. So that's what really disheartened me, because I felt, especially for the first half, we weren't at the races at all. And that's a bit of a blow. So to come away from there with a draw, having not really played very well, is a decent result, and it keeps us in the fight. But listen, going into the game, I wanted 3 points, of course I did. So, yeah, ultimately, like I say, we're still in the mix, we're still in the hunt, but we're going to dig deep into the game, and it's not pretty reading, in my opinion.
No, we've certainly seen the Reds play better, mate. I can agree with that. So, yeah, the same question to you, Dave. What's your feelings on a 2-2? And as Dan alluded to there, was that another case of what we've seen recently of certainly the first half was just not being at the races?
Yeah, I think it was. I think in terms of the performance, based on just the performance alone, 2-2, you think, okay, that's a good result. We've got out of the Etihad with a 2-2 draw. It's great. But, I mean, we said last week, and I was of the opinion that we needed to win that game to win the title. So it was very disappointing. There was a good number of players out there who were very nervy, didn't look up to it, didn't play well, took them time to go into the game. I don't think City were particularly miles better than us, more than we allowed them to be, to have opportunities and have moments. And there was silly little things where we give the ball away cheaply. And there was just moments where you're just so frustrated because these players are good players. And they've gone to the Etihad of all places and crumbled to an extent. Some of them were just Trent Alexander-Arnold the first 25 minutes, but not but give the ball away. And okay, he did improve. He grew into it, but just very disappointing, very frustrating that that we missed an opportunity there to beat City, but at the same time to play badly and get a 2-2 draw there. They're probably the second best team in world football behind us. It's not a bad result. I just wondered if we might regret it.
Yeah, mate. Like I say, any other season you'd probably be happy with it, but the situation we're in, and certainly I think with the performance, that we are disappointed. So, Dan, where do you think it went wrong, mate? I know we conceded the goal after 5 minutes, which is, never good in any game. But, what did you put it down to, certainly in the first half? Just like giving the ball away too much, players just being too scared of the occasion?
Definitely giving the ball away too much. It felt like we were passive to begin with. It felt like we'd started the game like we've played a lot recently. We've all said about our performances haven't really been setting the world alight in the last few weeks, but we've been getting results. And we've all said as well in the build-up that if we're going to go to City, we're going to have to play a lot better, and we didn't. We played as if we were playing, your Watfords of late and what have you, and City hurt us for that. And, it took us a good few minutes to even wake up and realise we were in a game of football, a top-level game of football at that, because for large parts of that first half, we weren't. We were miles off the pace, and they capitalised. And if we're being honest, we're fortunate to still be in the game at half-time, because they could quite easily have blown us away. And it's frustrating more so because when we did get the ball down and play football, we hurt them, as proved in our first goal. Like the first time we got the ball down and actually played anything like we can, we scored. We just didn't do it anywhere near often enough. So, yeah, not good enough in terms of keeping the ball. Defensively, we were poor. Decision-making was poor. And we just didn't win a second ball for about half an hour. And it was just annoying to watch.
Yeah, man, I completely agree with you there. It felt like nothing was going for us. Certainly on the second ball front, it was every time it was, we're heading out, it was coming back to it, a City player, and that was shown in the first goal, Dave. Obviously you were at the match. I was obviously Carragher did analysis on the first goal, leading up to the free kick before the goal. We've got plenty of chances to clear that ball, haven't we? Before it comes back in, and those number of errors led to the first goal, didn't it?
Yeah, and that's where I think it was the occasion got to a few players. It was just too much for them. They didn't seem like they were ready to go at that point, and City just seemed like they were going to swarm all over us, and they did. And there's been a lot of talk about the quick free kick and all that, and what leading to it. Alisson's save before it is fantastic, as well as Sterling's chance. That's a clear goal. And when he saved it, I was thinking about our chat the other week when I was saying about Alisson being our most important player, but then the rest of the team just let him down. He makes a save to keep you in the game. You think they'd wake up from that and go, hang on a minute, they've just had a massive chance there. Our keeper's pulled us out of it. Let's make sure that we get our heads together. There was none of it. It was just like City were just, to be fair, they were relentless in them first few minutes, and we just did not get ourselves in that game at all. I don't know. I don't know if it was just nerves or it was just maybe a bit blasé. Maybe they didn't think it was. Maybe they were trying to play it down as big as a game as it was. But whatever it was, we just weren't at it in them opening first few minutes. And yeah, we were poor. And they took their chance, and that's what they'll do.
Yeah, man, exactly. You give space to De Bruyne. Left or right. I know it takes a deflection, goes in off the inside of the post, but sometimes it goes for you, sometimes it doesn't. So yeah, 1-0 down, and they get on top. But as we said, Dan, there were brilliant moments in the game, and obviously we want to talk about the equalising goal. And to me, I saw someone earlier compare it to the goal we scored in 2019 to make it 1-1. It's sort of the reverse of that, where it was Robertson into Trent and then the ball back across. So we know how well we can play football, and we showed it there, didn't we, mate?
Yeah, we did. And not only obviously in that moment directly leading up to the goal, but just a few minutes before that was the first time in sort of the opening 15 we'd actually managed to keep possession, and we put some passes together. And it just showed when we did that, we could pull City apart. And the goal itself, the ball in from Robertson's high class, he could have easily lashed at that or just whipped it into an area. Instead, he picks out Trent at the back post. And I was as annoyed as you lads were by Trent's performance in the first half. But the one moment of quality he did show was at the back post, because similar to Robertson, it would have been easy for Trent to go for power there and just try and fizz it across the 6-yard box and just see what happens. And that might well have led to a goal. But to have the awareness just to see Jota, who'd held his run and just waited, and just to lay it back to him was exceptional, to be fair. And yeah, Jota tucks it away, doesn't he? Does what in general he does best, to be honest. His performance again wasn't exactly outstanding, but he found his way onto the score sheet. A little bit of help from Edison, who didn't cover himself in glory with the save, but yeah, crucial goal. And like Dave alluded to a minute ago with the Alisson save, you thought, okay, that's got to wake us up. And then they scored, and you think, okay, that's got to wake us up. And that didn't happen either. And then we score, and you think, right, surely now. But again, we just, as soon as we scored, it's like, okay, that'll do us. And then we just stopped playing again. It was, I'm still frustrated now, if you can't tell. It really annoyed me, because we have an outstanding football team. So are they, I get that. But so much of the talk today has been, Twitter been, oh yeah, City don't let you play. City don't do this. City. And I just think, yeah, but what about us? We're also pretty good at this sport, and we didn't show it yesterday.
No, man, I agree with it. It's very annoying. Just we know how good we are. The world knows how good we are. It's just certain moments. Certainly when we go to City, it was one win in the last 12, was it? And it's now 1 in 13. So again, disappointing, isn't it, Dave? Obviously, we get back into the game, but sort of normal service was resumed, wasn't it? And it's the sort of thing. Obviously, the second goal. Obviously, we know we play a high line all season. We're never going to change it. Man City away, Watford at home, doesn't matter. We're always going to play like that. But they did on a couple of occasions sneak around the back, didn't they? And obviously the goal came from Jesus at the back post.
Yeah, look, it's going to happen at some point. The high line is very, very effective It works extremely well. I think we caught them offside quite a few times yesterday. I think we'll come to the most notable one in a bit, but there is going to be moments where someone is going to time it perfectly and get through and score, and it's going to happen. It just happened to be the biggest game of the season. I thought he played quite well yesterday, to be fair, Jesus. He was a sort of surprise selection. But as Dan said, there's you score the goal, you don't really capitalise, you don't really kick on. I mean, we had moments in the game, we had little spells, but we never really dominated as such. And we let them get that goal before half time. And I mean, we almost got one back as well. I know that, and that might have been probably very unfair on City, to be fair, because we probably didn't deserve it. But if Jota doesn't fluff his lines, you go in 2-2. But look, it's going to happen. It's going to happen at times. And I don't want these people who then start slating the eye line. It doesn't work and blah, blah, blah. It does work. The amount of times you catch people offside and from free kicks and things like that, usually it works. But it's going to happen. Just happened to happen in the biggest game and it gets the most eyes on it. And that's just the way it is, unfortunately. We've got to live with that.
Yeah, we have, mate. I mean, I think if any team we're going to exploit it, you'd probably say it was City, because I agree. We play it so well. The amount of times we catch them offside, whether we need VAR or we don't, offside is offside, and we're never gonna change for any team. But obviously, Dan, we are fortunate to get in 2-1 at half time. So again, obviously we get a goal first minute of the second half. Obviously, we'll speak about the goal again. What a great footballing goal again. We get the ball down, sort of first minute. Trent to Salah, and again, another contender for assist of the season. I mean, it's a long list, and it's going to grow as well. And what a great finish by Mane to get back in the game again.
Yeah, it was, and that was. We just looked like a different animal, didn't we, from the kickoff in the second half entirely. We pressed them early doors. We got hold of the ball quickly, and we used it really well. Something we just didn't see enough of in that first half. But yeah, it's a high-class goal, like it really is, from pretty much start to finish. Even Trent's little inside ball to find Salah's exceptional. And then Salah's pass to Mane, you're right. It reminded me of the one against Watford earlier in the season at Watford. Obviously, that was sort of the outside the boot. So in terms of, difficulty level, the first one was harder. But in terms of class, they're very similar. And he's found Mane absolutely perfectly. And Sadio Mane, I've been one of his biggest critics at times this season, because I feel like he has fluffed his lines too often. And he maybe overthought some situations, to be honest. But that's where he's at his best, playing on instinct and playing almost just straight away, not having to think about things. And that's what he did yesterday. And it's an exceptional finish from him. So, yeah, a lovely goal, really nicely worked. But like I said earlier, that's like, at that point, what we played, 47 minutes, something like that. And we put together 2 passages of genuine play and scored twice. So that just shows you, it's very simplistic to say, listen, if we'd have been better, we'd have scored more. But had we have managed to do that more often and be as good as we can be, we could have hurt them on more occasions.
No, mate, absolutely. I think after the second goal, we had a 10-minute spell where I thought, okay, we're getting it down, we're playing a bit more, we created a couple of chances. Obviously, Salah had the deflection wide. I think we had another
Goal
save
kick.
in that. I had a deflection for a goal kick, even though there was a VAR check. Oh, I know. But Dave, obviously back into it 2-1. I know we've spoken about it, but surely that if there was a time to, if we need to win the game to have if we're going to have a great chance to win the league, get back into the game, surely that was the time to put the foot down and take control of the game, wasn't it?
Well, my worry at that stage was that I felt we were going to score again too quickly, because I thought we've caught them cold. I seen us going up 3-2 pretty, the next 10 minutes after that. And then my worry then would be it'd be such a nervy game and they'd end up getting an equaliser. That's what I was worried about. And I said to my dad when we were there, I don't want us to score, but if we score too early, we're going to be in trouble. We're just going to have to sit back and they're going to come at us. It never happened, never materialised. We had moments and we enjoyed possession, but we just never really went that extra mile. And what, to be fair, for that second goal, Trent was awful first half. He grew into it, but that pass he made for Salah, I mean, Dan said about his assist for the first goal. The way he gets the ball into Salah sort of on the half turn to get us on the front foot, that right side of our entire team is so important to how we play, that little triangle that we've got, the right back, the right winger, and whoever's on the right hand side of the midfield. And it came into its own there. He finds Salah, great pass, brilliant pass, great finish from the birthday boy as well. And as I say, you're just waiting for us to then go, right, we've got ourselves back in it. We're almost lucky to be 2-2, but let's go and win it. Let's go and do it. Let's go and put a statement out. Let's end this title race here. And then just a bit of a whimper, wasn't it, from there on out, really? We had the ball, we had plenty of it. We just never really dominated from there.
No, we didn't, mate. I think pretty much after the Salah going out for a goal kick, I don't think we had really another chance after that. And it sort of fizzled out from our point of view. And then we go ahead, don't we, Dan, to we've been here before, haven't we? Raheem Sterling at that end of the Etihad with a dubious offside call. If only we had VAR 8 years ago, mate, eh? But offside's offside. I mean, it's very tight. We can all see that. But
yeah,
again, as we go back to that's how good our high line can be.
Yeah, and that was sort of the positive side of it, wasn't it? Because obviously he's played it very effectively, nip and tuck. Bit close for my liking, truth be told, especially when it's Sterling half celebrating after scoring. That was not a pretty sight. But yeah, like I say, they're sort of the bravery and the risk and reward elements, I suppose, of the high line. And we weren't exactly, on top of our game with it yesterday. I think we've seen a couple of occasions whereby they managed to get behind it. But thankfully, on that occasion, it was just about spot on.
That's all it needs to be, doesn't it? I mean, certainly with it, I think that's why we can get away with it now, because VAR is there. We know if we're right and we catch them offside, at the very least, it's going to VAR and it's going to get changed. So I think that's a reason for me why they played very good at it, but they've always got that buffer of VAR. But yeah, anyway, just on the game itself, Dave, is anyone there in particular you thought had a good game out there? How did you think the midfield three went, mate? Henderson, Fabinho, and Thiago. Disappointing, mate.
Very disappointing. I think they got bullied out the game, to be honest. Fabinho, Thiago, very lucky not to see red, in my opinion. Thiago's very lucky because he completely obliterates Kevin De Bruyne on a yellow card. But that fella from Wythenshawe, who claims to be not a Man United or City fan, but then doesn't give us a corner, and there's just been a VAR check for handball. He'd already blown for a foul, so he got lucky there. We just weren't at it. Fabinho was very off the pace for me yesterday. He gave the ball away sloppily. There was a moment in the first half after they'd scored as well where he decided to turn into trouble, just like it was not a care in the world. He must have thought we were still playing Watford last week, where they were going to sit back, turn right into trouble, put us under pressure. There was little moments like that just stopped us getting into our stride as well. That's what really hurt us. Was I think that Fabinho moment was after we'd scored, and we're trying to build out from the back and try and get a bit of a stamp hold on the game, and little things like that, just giving the ball away cheaply, just too lackadaisical in possession. All little things like that really let us down. It was very disappointing to see people who've won the Champions League, won the Premier League. We won a cup final just over a month ago. Couldn't handle the pressure of a big game like that. Obviously got into the Reds. Whatever Klopp said at half time, I think sorted it slightly because we were better second half. But yeah, just not great for me. I mean, there was moments where Van Dijk looked like he was under pressure, like he was panicking, and it's like, Virgil van Dijk, calm down. I know it's a big game, but just relax, just do your thing. It did get better, as I say, but just very, very disappointing. It feels like a real missed opportunity to me that I hope we don't, but I think we might regret.
Yeah, potentially. I agree. Certainly, if you see Van Dijk panicking there, the rest of the team are going to look at it and think, "Oh, hang on a minute."
If he's under pressure, what am I doing? Yeah.
Just very disappointing. So, Dan, obviously, we take a point from that as the City. We've got 7 games left, 1 point behind, mate. Where do you think that leaves us? Obviously, you'd say City is still favourites, but is this still doable? Obviously, we're relying on City to drop some points now.
Yeah.
Is this still on, mate?
Oh yeah, 100%. 100% is still on. And I tell you what, yesterday did do. As much as I've seemed to have spent the last 24 hours criticising our performance, I think because we were below par and City were pretty much on it for large periods, they'll be wondering how they didn't win. And they'll be wondering how they're not 4 points clear. And essentially, with one hand on the title if they were 4 points clear with 7 games to go. So from a psychological standpoint, we probably got the edge yesterday because we were nowhere near our level, and they still couldn't beat us. And for everything Klopp said, Guardiola said recently about us being a pain in the arse, etc., etc. Same again yesterday. Just won't leave him alone. Like, they go ahead twice, and he's thinking, okay, these aren't at it, we're ahead, and again we come back. So there are massive positives to take from it, even from just yesterday's game. But looking ahead, we've got arguably the tougher fixture list on paper in terms of names who we're playing. But what I will say, and a huge positive on the fixture to come, is any fixture that looks half difficult for them is away from home. They got West Ham away, Wolves away, and I think maybe Leeds away, which isn't, you know. But the first two, especially West Ham and Wolves, are difficult sides to beat this season in particular. Whereas ours, you know, your Spurs, United, Everton, difficult games for various reasons, all at home. So, listen, it's anyone's sort of to predict, I suppose. But for me, there's going to be a twist at some point. There has to be. It's very rare you get what we had a few seasons ago, whereby teams just win every game. That's almost impossible. So a twist right now suits us, doesn't it? Because we're the ones chasing. So all we need in 14 games of football is something to happen. And I'm confident it will.
Yeah, mate. I mean, it's gonna be one of those as the games go on. The pressure's gonna mount up and up, and we've seen silly things in past title races. You just never know. So yes, same question to you, Dave. Obviously with the draw yesterday, where do you stand, mate? And obviously we sort of do this at the end of the season, but it just felt like apt yesterday. You think back to some of the games like Brighton at home, where you're 2-0.
That was the one that came to my mind. Yeah.
Or Brentford away, for instance. You just think if we win one of those games, a draw is an unbelievable result yesterday. So I don't know if that's coming to your thinking, mate. You know, where are you standing now with 7 games to go?
I'll be honest, it's a bit weird you've said Brighton at home, because I was just, when we were on the coach home yesterday, and I'll be honest, everyone on the coach is quite defiant and like, yeah, you know, they're going to slip up. I love Dan's optimism. I don't share it. I don't think they will. I'd love to see it happen, but I just don't share it. And Brighton at home did come to mind. You know, as you say, 2-0 up and you just let it go. These are the small margins. I think, like Dan says, if we can keep the pressure on until West Ham, I mean, that Wolves game that they've got hasn't been arranged yet. They've still got to play Wolves. It'll be midweek at some point. It'll be difficult. Wolves are chasing Europe. Hopefully, at that point, they will
also,
be anyway.
Dave, just to say on Wolves, you can carry on after I got this in, but they owe City one. Do you remember that horrific penalty decision, Jan Martino? Hit him like in the chest, essentially. So they'll be fuming about that. So they might really want to do something that day.
And do you know what? Molineux's a good ground. It generates an atmosphere, and it's difficult for the away fans to generate an atmosphere because it's such a wide allocation. It's difficult. Under the lights, midweek, that could be a big one for City. Leeds, do you know what? Leeds is a good ground again. Big atmosphere. They're still maybe fighting a little bit, maybe not. And I think on that Saturday we play Newcastle away earlier on, so we can go top before it and things like that. West Ham is the one. If they haven't done it by West Ham, I can't see Villa. Villa got absolutely smashed at the weekend by a half decent Tottenham side. They're not even that good. And I just don't see Villa being able to do anything on the last day as much as I'd love it. And we all know, we spoke about it last week about Gerrard and all things like that. I just don't see it. We've got some tough fixtures. We've got Spurs at home, tough one. Everton and Man United are both awful, but it's a totally different ball game when we play them. I was saying yesterday, if it was like Arsenal and Burnley at home, you'd go, sound, we'll be all right. It's Man United and Everton who are in similar positions to them teams. It's a totally different ball game. I just don't know whether I'd love to think that they'll drop points somewhere, but I don't think it's going to happen. And that we might regret little things like maybe not so much Brentford because they were flying at the time, they were good, they had a real go at us. But Brighton at home certainly feels like a giveaway.
Yeah, similar minds. That's the one I immediately thought of. But I mean, for me, if we can take it to May, if we can take it to the last 3 games, I just think. Saying I'm looking at those West Ham and Wolves games. Leeds not so much. I think if Bielsa was still there, I'd fancy it more. because they they took 4 points off them last season, and Guardiola completely lost his head in both games, didn't know what to do. But I'm looking at it. Wolves, the last season they played Wolves with fans, Wolves did the double over them. They won 2-0 at City and 3-2 at home. And the only other team, the only other English team to stop City winning this year is West Ham, and it was a League Cup tie. So there's a bit of previous there. So there's definitely hope, lads, definitely. But I think we have to win every game till, I think, May, when we've got 3 games left, and then we go from there. But anyway, we'll put the league to one side for a minute anyway, and we'll move on, because obviously we're still in loads of competitions. And we're rolling to Europe on Wednesday night. Benfica come to Anfield. We'll touch a bit on last week, Dan. Obviously 3-1 win in Benfica. That was a good professional European performance, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. A shame to concede the goal for obvious reasons. Like that, again, it's probably the most simplistic thing to say, but it was a very good performance, and arguably we didn't really deserve to concede that goal. They didn't really create a lot, and then a pretty aimless cross into the box, and Konate, who had a very good game overall. And thankfully, I've not seen a lot of criticism for his failed clearance, because he was outstanding aside from that. So he wouldn't have deserved any criticism. But yeah, the tie isn't put to bed because of that goal. But having said that, we did seem capable of opening them up, even away from home. So, yeah, with them coming to Anfield, everything that entails, we can be very confident of potentially putting this tie to bed and settling any nerves quite early doors, which I think will be really crucial. With what's to come, actually what us and City do this week is going to be really important, I think, because we're both playing Wednesday night. You know, we've both got Champions League fixtures. And if we can, like I say, get this game done and dusted early doors with 5 changes in the Champions League from the bench available, that could be a massive, massive plus for us.
Yeah, mate, definitely. Certainly with City only taking a 1-0 lead to Spain, it's they've got a very interesting game there. So sort of on the team, Dave, obviously 3-1 up from the first leg. Firstly, you under just I think if we score, we kill this game, I think. And then secondly, I think he will make some changes because he have to rotation. How many do you think he's going to make? What sort of team are we looking at here?
I think you'll see quite a lot. That game on Sunday was mental, wasn't it? The pace, the intensity. I seen someone put on Twitter like you needed 3 lungs and all sorts of extra reserves in your body to put up with that pace. I think you'll see a lot, particularly in midfield. I think you'll see quite a lot of change in midfield. We've got a squad that's good enough to rotate pretty much maybe 60% of it and still be strong. I think you might see the front 3 completely changed. I think you'll see a lot in midfield. I think, do you give Van Dijk a bit of a break? Can you risk giving Van Dijk a bit of a break? You may see the likes of Tsimikas come in. Gomez played well at right back against Watford. Does he come back in for Trent? Did we rest him? I think you'll see a lot of changes because although the tie is far from dead, 3-1 is I know they need to score 3 goals to beat us, and I don't see them doing that. But our sort of depth is a lot better than it used to be. I think we've got much better players that we can bring in now and rotate. So I do think you'll see a lot of changes. If I had to put me out on one of the players to be rested, I'd probably say Henderson. I think he'd be knackered. He was all over the place in the second half, legging it. Thiago probably won't start. As I say, I think you'll see the front 3 changed. And so there's questions to ask about who's going to be coming in. How much does he want to rest for Saturday? But we've definitely got a luxury, as you mentioned, Kieran. We've got that luxury of having a bit more of an advantage compared to City, who are going away from home with a 1-0 lead rather than us coming back home with a 3-1 lead.
Certainly, mate. Taking a 3-1 away anywhere in Europe's fantastic. Yeah, Dan, so what do you think in terms of personnel coming in? For me, I think one of the main ones, Mo Salah needs a rest, for certainly. So who do you think is going to come in? And, it will be a rotated side, but I think we need to see, as much as it's only, Benfica, we need to see an improved performance, don't we? We want to see if we get a good performance out there to give the fans something.
Yeah, give the fans something, and I can give the players something as well, because they'll be aware that they've not really been firing all cylinders in recent weeks. They know better than anyone else. But it's an interesting one on the team. I expect rotation as well. And a lot of the names Dave mentioned there, your Simicas, I think Canate will come in. There is scope to make a change at right back with Gomez potentially. You're going to see your likes of your Naby Keitas. Curtis Jones might get a game. Harvey Elliott might be there or thereabouts for Curtis Jones instead. And like I say, I do expect to see Diaz, Bobby Firmino. I wouldn't rest Salah. And I'll tell you why. Because I thought yesterday in the second half, we seen signs of him getting back to something like we know he is. He was another level up from what he's been recently yesterday. He skipped past Cancelo a couple of times and he just looked all round more dangerous. His touch was better. He had that, jink and shot we all know he loves, which obviously did get deflected wide, but nothing happened. So for me, I would go with him against Benfica, because he needs a goal. He needs a goal in the performance more than anyone, quite frankly. So I'd give him as long as it takes to kill the game, quite frankly. And if that's an hour, great. If that's 45 minutes, even better. If we're 2-0 up at half-time and Salah's got one of them, take him off. Take him off. But with someone like him, I do it. In general, I agree that he probably deserves and needs a rest and all the rest of it. But for his confidence, which has looked like it's been shot to pieces in recent weeks, I would go again with him. And I think Klopp, after seeing that yesterday, should go again with him. And I could be completely on my own in that. But like I say, I just seen early signs yesterday of him getting back to somewhere near his best form, and I'd run with it.
No, mate, it is an interesting one, because it is sort of a bit catch-22, really. You obviously want to rest him and have him saved for him, but you also need to see him, fully confident. I agree, he will be fully, if he slots 1 or 2 on Wednesday, that confidence comes back, definitely. And if you've got a confident Salah, certainly going through to the last few games, that could be the difference in some of them. So just a quick prediction for the game on Wednesday night then, lads. Start with you, Dave.
2-0. I think it'll be relatively comfortable. Plenty of rotation, as I say, and I don't see Benfica causing us many problems. I really don't. I think I'm not saying that they're going to do like a Havant Waterlooville a few years ago and just turn up for the day out, but it's more like I think they'll deep down know that this game's done. They're not going to beat us by 3 clear goals. There's just not a chance. And I'm going to go for 2-0. I think it'll be relatively comfortable.
Okay, 2-0 for Dave. Dan?
I think it could be more comfortable than that for all the exact same reasons, to be honest. I think if we get that even relatively early goal, I'm talking first 20 minutes, Benfica have kind of got nothing to lose. They won't want to get an absolute hiding. So at some point, they might kind of stop attacking, but they're going to go for it pretty much throughout until it gets to like probably the 70th minute and they go, okay, that'll do now. But yeah, I can see us maybe getting 3 or 4. So I'll say 4-0.
4-0. Nice. I mean, for me, I see us wanting to put a performance on. And for me, we won 3-1 away. So I'll go 3-1 at home as well, just to complete the double there. And be a safe passage to semi-finals of the European Cup. Anyway, lads, we roll on to another different competition that we're still in. And it's very rare we say this, but FA Cup semi-final this weekend. And once again, it's Manchester City on the menu. Dave, what sort of game do you expect to see a sort of similar game as we saw to Sunday, or do you think we'll see something different?
Guaranteed to go to penalties. Put your money on it.
Yeah.
Guaranteed to go to penalties. Yeah, 100%. These two teams are so evenly matched. It's unbelievable. You look at that stat of the points since 2018-19, is it? What is it now? 338 and 337, or 339 and 338. 2-2 draws this season. Just cannot be separated. It's gonna go to penalties. I don't know whether you'll see as intense a game, just because the Wembley pitch is slightly bigger. I don't know what the weather's going to be like, but if it's hot as well at Wembley, it always seems like a bit more of a slog for the players on the pitch. That could work to our advantage. There could be more space in behind to sort of capitalise on. I just hope Kyle Walker doesn't play, to be honest, because I'm not his biggest fan. I think he's awful as a footballer, but he's so fast. He is so fast. And any sniff that we had yesterday getting him behind, he's there. That's why he's so important to City. They paid 50 million for a fast player, basically. If you put any ball into him or you ask him to do anything football related, forget it. He can't do it. But he is so quick and he can just make up ground for whoever's in behind. So, yeah, I think, it's weird, isn't it? Because I think we'll both be sort of frustrated at the result on Sunday. There'll be no one sort of like trying to make up for a bad performance. I think if anything, we both sort of are. So there's no, we were expecting like maybe say Liverpool went there and won yesterday. You'd expect City to really come out and be full pelt. Whereas I don't know whether both teams might sort of be like, oh, do you know what? We've seen this before. Let's just take a step back. But then it's not really in either manager's nature to do that, really. I think, yeah, maybe it'll be as attacking as it can be on a big Wembley pitch, but not as intense as Sunday.
No, I tend to agree there, Dave. I think it will be a drop in intensity just because Sunday will take so much out of them, and I think, well, certainly for City, Wednesday will take so much out of them as well. But I want to ask Dan, saying obviously the game being at Wembley, with the pitch factor, does that favour either of the teams, Liverpool or Man City? And obviously, can we take the memories of the League Cup final, victory over Chelsea? Does that give us an advantage?
Yeah, I think playing at Wembley so recently will be helpful. It's not something we've got a massive amount of experience of in recent years, because obviously our domestic cup success has been pretty much nil, for a reason I'm completely au fait with and fine with. But yeah, it's not until this season that we really went deep into these cups. So yeah, playing there in the last month will be useful, I think. Generally speaking, I'd say the Wembley pitch favours City. I agree with Dave's point in terms of getting in behind, but they move the ball so efficiently that I think actually it is beneficial to them. But on this occasion, with what's just happened and what's to come this week, I'm actually more confident going into this game than I was yesterday, because I feel like, I'm confident and I'm hopeful that they'll get a real test on Wednesday in Madrid, whereas I feel like we should, I'm pinning a lot of hopes on this, we should have a relatively straightforward night with Benfica, and we will have that ability to A, rest players from the start and rotate the side, and B, do so in-game as well, which could be so, so important. Because if we can, and we come through pretty much unscathed and we have had that rotation, we could go again with whatever we want on Saturday. Whereas City, Pep's going to ask them players pretty much the same lineup as yesterday, maybe barring one or two, to go again for him on Wednesday in Madrid and then again for him on Saturday at Wembley. That's a tough ask, that, against, Liverpool, a very good Atletico side, not what they were, and Liverpool again. That's hard. That's really hard. So, yeah, I'm actually more confident for the Wembley game than I was yesterday. And also because of everything I mentioned before, because City will be thinking they can't match what they did at the Etihad, and they still couldn't beat us. So if they're thinking that's as good as we've got and we still didn't beat them, psychologically going into Saturday, they'll be thinking, these again. You know what I mean? Like, we are like that annoying fly that won't go away, because in theory, I've said it a million times about Pep Guardiola before, he wants the monopoly on domestic matters. That's what he craves. That's what he's always had. He had it in Spain with Barcelona, and he had it in Germany with Bayern. He got no issue with that. He always makes out like this false pretense that Liverpool push him to new heights and so on and so forth. But realistically speaking, if Liverpool weren't around and City were walking the league by February every year, he'd have no issue with that. No issue with that whatsoever. So the fact that we are so annoying to him, I love it. And I also think it has a detrimental effect on his sides. So, listen, I'm feeling ultra positive, clearly. But yeah, I'm confident for the semi-final.
No, mate, no, I agree. I mean, I think in terms of actually both teams, I think if you take either one of them out, the other one completely dominates for the previous 3-4 years and will do so the next 5-10 years, possibly. But Dave obviously says it's going to be a very, very tight game, mate. You think it's going to penalties? Obviously, with fixtures coming up, we play Man United the following Tuesday. Do you think substitutions will be a key point in the key part of the game, sort of not in terms of team selection, but who he brings on as well at the right time?
And you know what? This is where it'll come in to midweek. This is where it'll pay off for me, because as Dan says, City have got to go to Atletico. They've got to work hard. They've got to go full strength. They've got a game on their hands. Atletico are horrible, a really dogged team and make you work for everything, and it's going to be tough. The only solace City will get is they'll probably have most of the ball, so they won't be too physically exerted, but mentally they'll be drained. Whereas we've got, as I say, that luxury of resting. So when it comes to the extra times and we make substitutions, and I looked at yesterday. You're bringing Diaz off the bench, and that back four for City must have been thinking, like we've put up with Salah, Mane, and Jota, and now you're bringing him on. Like he's a speedster. So I think that's where we might come into our own. Extra times usually, I've said this before, it's usually a non-contest. We may just pip it there, but as I say, it's going to be so tough, and we're assuming that City are going to really struggle. We're assuming that we're going to fly through our game and be all right. If that is the case, that does put the ball in our court, does give us an advantage. I also think, psychologically, City won the Carabao Cup, was it 4 years on the run?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and this is the first year they haven't won it. So this is their first trip to Wembley this year. And I know they've been there a million times and whatnot, but this is their first trip to Wembley this year. It's our second. So we're already slightly more prepared than they are. Whereas in the past, when they've been to Wembley and won the Carabao Cup, then won the FA Cup after it, or gone to semi-finals and stuff, they've been ready for it. They've already had their opportunity. The shoe's on the other foot now with us for them, and I wonder how much of an impact that'll have for us. Obviously we've experienced it. We might stay in the same hotels and do the same trip and things like that, but I just wonder how much of an impact that might have as well of City's first time there this season, whereas we've already been.
Yeah, mate, it's an interesting point. It could well just, he's talking about these small margins, it could well just come to, something like that. Dan, do you share Dave's views? Is this going all the way, mate, to extra time penalties, or do you see a winner in the 90?
No, as was evidenced in my earlier confidence, I actually see us getting this done in the 90, to be honest. I just feel like their exertions of this week should hopefully... I am very much predicting what's going to happen in midweek here, but I feel like our upper hand could well come to fruition on Saturday. And we might just be able... We might have learned some lessons as well from yesterday's performance. Let's have it right. There were definitely lessons to be learned. We did not execute our game plan or our performances by any stretch of the imagination. So if we can put that right on Saturday, as well as what's going on, potentially could go on in midweek, I fancy us to get this done. What will be interesting, I don't want to preempt your next question, is his team selection, because I wouldn't be going with what we saw yesterday personally. And I'll throw Naby Keita into that mix for a kick-off, because I felt like the midfield lacked legs yesterday. Because that midfield we picked, Thiago, Henderson, Fabinho, pretty much need possession of the football, particularly Thiago. When we don't get that, we don't get the lion's share of possession against City. That's one thing we pretty much all know. We need someone who can carry the ball when we do get it, and we lack that massively yesterday, in my opinion.
No, man, I completely agree. You did lead me on to my next question, which was going to be, you take the starting 11 from yesterday, Dave, and the 11 that's going to start on Saturday. How many changes are going to be made, do you think?
Very, very hard to sort of predict, isn't it? Especially when, with Benfica and midweek and things like that, it's very hard to predict. But if you go from Sunday to next Saturday, I think Dan's right in the sense that Keita was hard done by not to start on Sunday, to be honest. He's played really well recently. I think you throw him in there. I think if you need to, you can put Henderson back into defensive midfield over Fabinho if you need to, just because he didn't have his best game. I know he's good, but there was moments there where he wasn't up to it. And I don't know whether he'd do it again. That's something Klopp will have to decide. I don't think you change the back four. Front three, do you maybe bring Firmino in? I think Jota's got this little knack at the moment, and I think Dan alluded to it a little bit earlier, of playing quite poorly but scoring and making you think, oh, he's good, when really he hasn't really done that much. And I wonder whether, if we go back to the old tried and tested front three of Salah, Firmino, Mane. Does Firmino drop into midfield a little bit more, help you out? Because there was so many times where we've tried to play out and either give the ball away or put it out of play because we were just missing that little Firmino magic of he just drops into these little gaps and finds the half space, picks the ball up, allows us to get up. And I just wonder whether he might get the nod. I think he'd be the one for me.
Mm-hmm.
Along with Keita, as Dan says, to maybe get into the team. But as I say, we've got such a good team now, a squad of players like Diaz to come in if you need them to come in. There's so many good players that you can bring in. But yeah, they'd be the two for me, I think, to bring in.
Yeah. No, to me, the last few games, and we said it when we were at Arsenal, the games have been crying out for Bobby. I do think he compared to Jota, I don't think I've ever seen someone just not so much average, but be so under par, but score so many goals.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I can't get my head around it.
Sorry, Kieran. What I will say on that is he's enduring a particularly poor run in terms of his all-round game, because there was a period early on in the season whereby he was putting in genuinely good performances. At the minute, he's putting in proper bang average performances, but scoring, like Dave says. So if you were like marking him out of 10, when people do player ratings, and I've done them in the past, you've got Jota down as like a 4, and then he scores. So all of a sudden, he's elevated to a 7 instantly. And that sounds harsh, but if you watch his performances and his ball retention, his link-up play, that's about the long and short of it at the minute.
No, man, the spot on. I couldn't agree more. It just baffles me how he just scores every time, and he's a forward. That's what you want him to do. You can't knock him for it. It's absolutely mental. So anyway, guys, I'll just get a score prediction next Saturday, FA Cup semi-final. Start with you, Dave.
Won't be 2-2 again, surely. 1-1.
And
penalties and we'll win on pens.
11-10 again.
25-26, something stupid like that. With
yourself, Dan? You said it was going to be done in the 90?
Yeah, done in 90. Liverpool 2-1 winners in the 90. We go 1-0 up. They equalise. We're much the better team second half, and we kill it off.
Good. Well, just to get them all, I'll go 2-1 Liverpool, but I'll go after extra time just to cover all bases anyway.
Nice.
It's gonna be tight. We all know that. So I'm looking forward to it. And to be honest, that's not going to be the last time we play City this season. I think it's nailed on for the Champions League. I think it's absolutely nailed on.
I don't want to talk about that.
Shiver down the spine,
yeah,
that is.
That's gonna be horrible.
Come on, Atleti, yeah. Come on, Atleti,
it just makes it easier. But for me, that's how I see it going. But that'll be for another day to discuss anyway.
Can't wait.
I think I'm off that week.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all we've got time for on this week's edition of the Shankly Gates podcast. Thanks to Dan and Dave for your time, lads. Nice one.
Thank you, Kieran. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you next weekend. Thank you. Bye.